Hey there, folks. Welcome to today's episode of the Strategy and Leadership Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Loren Martinez, who is the Director of Operations at Little Man Ice Cream. Loren, what's happening today?
How are you, Anthony? I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm awesome, brother. I'm so excited. So, folks watching on YouTube, you'll notice I got my Little Man Ice Cream hat on. I have a Little Man Ice Cream shirt, not just because they're in the apparel business. You might have guessed it. They're in the ice cream business. But our team at SME Strategy has had the pleasure, both professional and personal pleasure, working with them for the past, I call it a year and into 2023. And it's just been a cool ride. But Loren, prior to that, you guys have been doing a lot of cool stuff in the, Colorado, Denver area. Why don't you tell folks about you, about Little Man, and then we'll get into it.
Sure. Well, I'm sorry I don't have any SME gear on today. I was not prepared, but next time I will make sure I put on my cool hat
Perfect.
and my mug. Bring my mug. We are an ice cream company. Started in Denver, Colorado. We started as just a tiny little kiosk ice cream shop in the North Denver neighborhood, and we make homemade, delicious ice cream. Small batches as you can get. We've scaled our business to 8 retail locations that we own and operate. We have a wholesale division and a catering division as well. And we in addition to ice cream, we kind of look at ourselves as more of a youth development organization, I guess. And where ice cream is just really our vehicle, and it's been a journey for sure.
That's awesome. One of the cool things, if you're ever in the Denver area, including the Denver airport now, you can pick up their ice cream. But all of their locations, what's cool about, Paul is the CEO, founder, the culture is every single location has a cool theme to it. One is actually like ice cream churn bucket. Maybe I can get some pictures up. One is like the wing of the airplane at the old Denver airport. What's another location that has a cool theme? Loren, I'm trying to think of.
It's roadside architecture, right? That's kind of like our sweet spot. We try to create these unique and surprise and delight locations. I think you mentioned there's an old wooden churn with a crank on it. There's a milk can. There's a Lockheed Constellation replica aircraft. My gosh, there's our factory is actually mimicked after the inside of an ice cream machine. So when you walk in, there's certain blades on the wall, and the ceilings are round, the bathrooms are circular. It's all about spinning and the process of spinning product. And we try to tell a story in each of our locations about maybe it's a piece of equipment or a piece of community history. We try to pull that out in design and architecture as much
I
as we
love,
can.
I love that. One of the cool things I want to touch on is you mentioned like you talked a little bit about community because you want to have like a community feel and have something that people go to, and then the youth development organization. So people can't see, but I'm wearing a shirt that says Scoop Camp. So I had the pleasure of going to see, the work that you guys do hosting Scoop Camp for 200 of your scoopers. So I'm using technical language. Tell our listeners a little bit about Scoop Camp and how you view kind of scoopers within your organization.
Sure. No, we call it Scoop Camp because of me and because of my history of being the biggest bang geek in the United States during the time that American Pie, the movies came out.
Mm.
And so I was in high school. I played the drums, I played the sax, and best time of year was always band camp, right? So band camp in high school was such an opportunity for your spring training, right? It's your time to learn what are our goals this year. Here's the music to the show that we're going to perform this year, and it's our opportunity to practice and get on the same page. That, in essence, is what Scoop Camp is. Every June, so the beginning of our peak season, we pause operations. We close down all locations for 2 days, and day one, you're with your manager at your shop, and it's a day of tactical training, mostly how to scoop the perfect scoop, how to make the perfect sundae, how to count money back to the guest, how to provide over the top guest service. And day two is we bring all 200 of our employees together under the same roof, and it's our opportunity to set that tone and set the expectation and communicate why are we here? What are we going to try to accomplish this upcoming season? It's also a way to communicate more tactical things like, hey, here's your company handbook. This is how to, these are what the benefits are in the company. These are how you engage with the benefits. But a lot of is we have these breakout sessions where we're talking about life and talking about what are your goals as an individual and how can those align with our goals as a company. We talk about social justice. We talk about how to engage with the community. We talk about conflict. Um, yeah, it's a 2 day opportunity to really make our family turn into a family,
Mm,
and it's a fun 2 days. It's exhausting, but it's for sure my favorite part of the year.
that's awesome. And am I mistaken? Did you start off as a scooper?
I did, I did.
So you've been with the organization how long now?
It was 14 years this November.
That's awesome. The energy of it. So I got to go. I got to say a couple things because we had started doing some strategy work together and just sharing like lessons. But what struck me is that these are young kids. I think like maybe like 16 to 18 to 20 maybe. And so not only are you giving them like work skills, which obviously for a business is important, but these are things that they take into life, that they take into their school, that they take into conversations with their parents, and it's so formative, and it sounds like for you it was formative even though there wasn't scoop camp at the time, or I assume there wasn't. Your experience as a scooper has impacted who you are as a human being now, which I just think is really cool. And on a personal level, I like you, I think you're awesome, so kudos to you and everything that you're doing. So I think that's dope. Anything else you want to share about scoop camp or your experience and relationships with your scoopers?
No, I don't think so. One last story. This past scoop camp was the first time I've ever invited previous employees to scoop camp, and so that's how we started scoop camp this year. Is at the beginning of it, I introduced 4 former employees, one of which is a government bureaucrat, one of which owns their own ice cream shop now, and one of which is a DJ and artist, and the last one is a pastor. And so it sounds like a bar joke at the beginning, but no, we introduced them at the beginning and we gave them the opportunity to share. Yeah, 8 years ago I went to Scoop Camp when I was 18 years old. I'm 20, now I'm in my middle 20s and I'm utilizing some of the skills that I learned at Little Man Ice Cream today. And how did Little Man Ice Cream define success? Has it made an impact on me today, right? In my personal career with my family. And so that was a kind of a wow, like, we've been doing this for 14 years. I've been doing it for 14 years, and just seeing the impact, right? To your point, Anthony, it had a huge impact on me while I'm still here. I find that value every day, but it was a really cool moment to just see the alumni come back for homecoming, right?
That's sweet. I mean, Denver's not a huge city; it's getting bigger, but like your impact is there, and I know that your impact is not just in the Denver metro, Colorado, or as you distribute out. Tell me a little bit, and I'm lucky because I get to understand the big bad. Tell me about Scoop for Scoop.
Scoop for Scoop is our commitment to give back to the community, whether it's with our funds, knowledge, skill based product, whatever it may be. In essence, it's for every scoop, we keep track of that number. For every scoop, we put 5 cents in a piggy bank and we give it away. We have a community outreach committee, which is an assembly of community members, employees. The owner comes, I'm there, and we sit around a table and we say thumbs up or thumbs down to whatever comes up at the meeting. We have people that submit donation requests locally and globally, whether it's a nonprofit, NGO overseas, or just one of our employees. We come together and we get to give away the owner's money, which is really, really cool. And so, yeah, Scoop for Scoop is our commitment to it's our philanthropy program, and we've built some structure through the years of how to administer, and that's through Scoop for Scoop and the community outreach committee.
That's awesome. You guys do so much cool stuff, and I mean, we could talk for hours about the work that you did. I know you guys did like the equivalent of kind of like a mission trip, 2 years ago into some cool stuff there. But my invitation: connect with Loren, connect with his team, learn more about what they do, eat some ice cream, and learn more about what they do, because it's everywhere, and the story's important. And we'll post some pictures from my last trip there. But I do want to ask you about strategy, right? So strategy, leadership, you're in a critical leadership role. You're on the executive team. SME started working with you, I guess, like 2 years ago, year and a half ago. Tell me about both, like, what was your experience going through strategic planning, and how has that been an evolution for your leadership team? And how has that helped you, have more impact and do the work that you're doing?
Sure. I would say if I've taken one thing out of it is why did I complicate things before? Strategy can be very easy. Like I actually, when I think of running a business and the financials of running a business, it's really just arithmetic, right? It's hopefully your sales are higher than the money you're spending, and hopefully there's some stuff left over. Basic arithmetic. That's how I look at finance, at least, and that's kind of how I was approaching, I guess, strategy before. Is we had one little ice cream shop. Today I have 8, plus we're delivering to 60 locations across the Denver metro area. We execute 250 weddings a year. So we're large. The company's changed, 15 years ago, and I've had to simplify and really look back to my own scoop camps of how do we define success, asking those simple questions. And when we make decisions throughout the week, throughout the day, how do we define success, and how do we look at what were our goals, and did we write them down? Did we put a timeline to them? When were they due? Did we meet those deadlines? And what are the goals moving forward? And so I think if there's been two takeaways: simplify and articulate, and put a timestamp on it, right? Yeah. And hold one another accountable to it, and make space to actually work on your strategy.
Yeah, I know. I like that. I definitely heard, one of the interesting things just talking about what you guys were up to was going from one shop to 6 to 7 to 8, to increasing that production to a zillion Christmas trees, which we haven't talked about. The complexity grew, and so the systems don't need to get more complex. To your point, they actually need to get simpler, so you can streamline everything and ultimately accomplish more. Outside of, or notwithstanding your work with SME Strategy, what's it been like for you, your leadership journey, your leadership evolution in those 14 years, both from, being a scooper to, having to work with other members of the leadership team? What are some lessons learned? What are some challenges that you experienced? Tell me about, what that's been like for you.
Yeah. First thing that comes to mind is, as starting as a scooper, I've been on every position. And so where that's a blessing and such a opportunity to know, I've been in those shoes, frontline employees. But I've moved from managing scoopers and managing our ice cream makers, that I'm managing managers, and I'm managing leadership. And that's a completely different skill set that's needed, right? And so that was a learning curve of at the first few years. After some growth, I was very, very hands-on, right, in the shop, scooping ice cream, making a presence, not realizing that I need to be backing out, and I need to be empowering and leading my leadership team to make more of an impact. And so I would say, just the transition of managing, your hourly employees to managing the leadership team was a learning curve for me. I think the other thing that comes to mind is, my gosh, sorry, now I'm backtracking here. Leadership, Anthony, where was I? I forgot where I was.
We're talking about moving from basically operations to strategy, and like, instead of leading frontline employees, leading leaders. And that's where I don't know what was coming up next, but that's That's where I'm at so far.
I forgot what first came to my head, but what second came to mind. But no, it's important to be to communicate to your team where you're going, right? I think I've always been sharing this straight with the owner. We have lots of ideas, right? And we chase what's shiny and exciting, and being able to have the ability to pause and ask the question, does this make sense right now with where we're going? Where are we going? Or what, and making sure that that conversation is not just being had with the owner and myself, right? It's happening with the leadership team, and cascading that down to our frontline team as well.
So I got that. That makes sense. I mean, it's an evolution, right? Like as you go through and saying, hey, like, what do I need to consider? How do I communicate up, down, and across, which we talk about, dare I say, ad nauseum. But it's a constant evolution as things get more complex. So as we wrap up today, as you look at what's next for you, what's next for Loren? What's next in his professional growth? What is next in his personal growth? And what's next for Little Man Ice Cream?
Yeah, I would say I am so excited right now. I am, like I was out to dinner with the owner the other day, and he's like, "How you doing? Like we're coming up on a new year." He's just tapping in to me personally. Like we've had a lot of change over the past couple of years, and he's like, "Where are you?" And I'll admit, a year ago, I don't know where I was, but now I do know that I'm excited, and I'm just ready to. I'm like the Kool-Aid guy, ready to punch through the wall. But no, I'm excited, and a big reason why I'm excited is we're going to continue to grow. We've identified that we want to open more ice cream shops. We've identified some strategy around growing our wholesale program, and I've identified that I need help doing that. Right, I need to find people that are better than me at my job. I need to find people that are experts in my field. I'm blessed to have amazing experience from the ground up, but that is my experience. And we've kind of hit the wall on the production side of our business, on supply chain side of our business. These big buckets of HR and finance. I was doing from the beginning. I was doing all of it, right? And we've kind of organically grown throughout the years, where I've gotten some great help. And going into next year, we have the opportunity we're going to make some key hires. We're going to hire a director of product to oversee our growth strategy when it comes to production and product. We've already hired a financial, basically CFO, but a third party, someone that can bridge the gap until maybe we're at the point where we can have a full-time CFO on staff. But we've made some key hires. But we've planned on that, right? A year ago, I was panicking because I knew what I needed, at least in my head, but I didn't know when I needed it. I didn't know how much it costs. I didn't know how to get there. And I mean, kudos to Anthony and his team. Like, you helped us talk about what is stressful. Why is it stressful? Okay, well, how do we answer all those questions? How do we make it less stressful, right? Once again, you help us simplify things. Why does this suck? Why does this suck? Okay, more than likely we're doing it to ourselves. Or what are the opportunities to make it not suck? And let's talk about it. Let's make action around it, and let's set a deadline on when to make it suck less. And maybe 2 years from now, it's not going to suck at all. It's actually going to be great. And so we're starting to see, going into 2023, some of the work that we did with you and your team. Oh, wow. A year ago, I was talking about, wow, I really need help with the financials of the business because it's outgrowing me. I don't know, like I need help. And a year later, look, now I have an advisor who's helping me. He's teaching me how to implement new SOPs along with our accountant. And so, it's seeing the fruits of that process come to fruition, and I'm stoked about it. I'm a process geek. I love seeing charts on walls and whatnot. And your process, not to say process can has really really helped.
That's awesome. I mean, it sounds I don't want to say night and day, it's an evolution. And
Yeah.
so, like you said, if you got band camp and you take the time to like prepare for the next season, what's nice about your business is you have a seasonality to it. Now, it's not to say that if our listeners, you the listener, you might not have an explicit season, but there's always time to make a season. Like I guarantee you that if you just like walked into an ice cream store just before busy season, you said, we're going to shut everything down for 2 days. That's a hard choice to make. Like nobody wants to shut their business down, but you guys have seen like, hey, it's an investment in our people. It's an investment in our strategy. It's an investment in our communication. It's an investment to make sure that that season goes well. What sounds like to me is, you're taking these off seasons, manufactured or otherwise, using that time to really build that strategy and develop. And the shift from reactive to proactive, the shift from even as a leader, your own leadership growth, recognizing, hey, like here's my gaps, like that in itself takes reflection. And so, and then also like adding personnel to it. So, like any good professional sports team, shout out to the Avs, you take your off season, you rebuild and you go for that championship, and you guys are just like going for it. So oh, by the way, also shout out to Paul Tabarello, who's just a G, and I just I respect him as a friend, as a person. He's just dope. That's a technical term. Also, another technical term. It doesn't say what sucks, what should suck less on our materials, but maybe it should. So I'm glad that resonated. But man, just on a personal level, just like big ups to everything that you've been doing because it's so cool. And what I want to take through this is it's like not for you. It's like you're supporting your leaders, you're supporting your community, you're supporting 200 young people at such an important and formative stage of their life, and your ability to do that has cascading effects for decades. So it's not just now, and it's not just to sell more ice cream. It's you're literally like shaping lives and communities, and I think that's what's so cool about Little Man and about you personally, Loren. So really shout out and just respect where it's due. So yeah, good job, man. That's awesome. Anything else you want to say to our leaders, to our listeners, that that you want to share some pearls of wisdom for them?
Sure. Yeah. I would say that I got my degree in business, and one of my favorite classes was social entrepreneurship, right? And I'll never forget day one of that class. My professor's up in front of the classroom, and he starts the first day handing out the syllabus and whatnot, and he goes, "It's a sad shame you had to choose this class." And everyone's like, "What the heck? Where's he going with this?" He's like, "You had the choice when you were looking at the roster of classes. There was an entrepreneurship class and there was a social enterprise entrepreneurship class, right? So that means we as a university are sending a signal that you can be an entrepreneur or you can be a social entrepreneur." Mm. And the reality is, Anthony, you were just throwing out, we're making an impact into community, and we're making an impact on our team. Every business does that, right? Every business makes an impact. Every business is part of the community. Every business has the opportunity to channel that impact, though, right? And it's just, Paul, our owner from day one, has always done such a good job of realizing that, no matter what, we have a role in this community. It's just whether or not we're gonna, one, see it, and two, how are we going to guide it, right? How are we going to guide it? We've seen over the last 10, 15 years, especially over the past few years with BLM and, everything that we're going through here in the US and across the world, with people are looking for companies that give a shit, and companies that that have a purpose, right? That have a purpose behind what they're doing. And I felt good over the past 5 years of, we were pushed, right? We were pushed from our communities of, hey, how are you giving back? How are you making an impact? How are you joining the conversation, or how are you avoiding the conversation? And we've had some structure already in place throughout the years to just really understand that there's more to life than just scooping ice cream. And, that's as an entrepreneur, that's what this is all about, right? It's not about the ice cream. It's about, we're in the people business. We're not in the ice cream business. Ice cream's just the vehicle. And, happy that we take the opportunity to measure that success beyond the bottom line.
Yeah. I love that, man. That's so cool. I was just, as I was thinking, I was just like, all of the thoughts of like what's going on in the world were just like rushing through my brain. And I was like, hey, it's been on my mind a lot with what's going on in the news. It just socially, it's like, hey, like, what's the stand I'm going to take? Like actually making a stand towards things that I believe in. We have the stuff that we do, but just like, yeah, where can I double down on that? And so it's just a good reflection, a good challenge, and good for all of our listeners, like take a pause and say, hey, what are you doing? You have the choice. It shouldn't be exclusive entrepreneurship or social entrepreneurship. And that doesn't mean you have to be an entrepreneur to make an impact socially. Loren, where can people connect with you? Where can they learn more about what you're doing? Where can they buy your ice cream?
Yeah, well, come to Denver, come to Colorado Springs, come to Fort Collins, Colorado. LittleManIceCream.com is where you can find all of our brands. You can find me at Loren@LittleManIceCream.com. More than happy. Please reach out. And if you find yourself in the Mile High City, please reach out. We'd be more than happy. I highly suggest salted Oreo. It is our most popular flavor. People line up for it. And my personal favorite, though, is the banana pudding. So make sure you get a scoop or 2 or 3 while you're out here.
That's awesome. Well, I know my team is going to be jealous because I was the only one who got to go on site. We're talking about getting there, but it was, it's a tough job when you got to do strategy work with awesome people and you have to eat ice cream in the process. Poor me. But honestly, it's been just such a personal pleasure, and we're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. So I look forward to what's next. So Loren, just thanks so much for being here. Thanks for doing what you do, and just thanks for being a stud and being on the podcast today. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for the opportunity. Tell the rest of the team I say hello.
Absolutely, brother. So, folks, there's Loren Martinez, who is the director of operations at Little Man Ice Cream. Things that I'm taking away is, take the time. We're recording this near the end of the holiday season. So do whatever you have to do to create a break for yourself to reflect on not only your leadership, your processes, your systems, your people, but also your impact. Impact is always an opportunity. It's always available. And so, do you choose to take advantage of it? And then, just on a personal level, just have some ice cream. Life's too short not to have good ice cream. So, folks, thanks for listening today. This has been the Strategy and Leadership Podcast. My name is Anthony Taylor. Appreciate you. See you next time.